And I wonder, Christiana, if at this point we bring in our beloved Mother Earth, and how has she how has she been a refuge for you, or how have her both her all of her qualities, but also like her pains that you know as well as anyone, to see the destruction of habitats, to see ecological disasters, to see all the planetary tipping points going in the wrong direction. How how do you be with that? So some of us, we do have a feeling of kind of powerlessness, but then sometimes maybe the earth, she can offer us a different kind of power with that pain. And I wonder if you might speak to that a bit.
Yeah. Hmm. So first, I think is to recognize, appreciate, revere the fact that Mother Earth is both hurting and thriving at the same time. We tend to focus as humans because our frontal lobe is geared that way. We tend to focus only on the negative news, and we have a lot of scientific information, and our news feed comes constantly through everything that is negative, and we know that we have reached and breached 6 or maybe even 7 now of the planetary boundaries. So I am not hiding away from that pain and or that reality. And at the same time, I'm also aware of the fact that Mother Nature is using her own resilience to continue to evolve, and to evolve to the conditions that are present for her now. Because the fact is that Mother Nature has a much broader bandwidth of adaptation and resilience capacity than we do. We, as one of the 8 million species here, need, in order for us to thrive, or in fact even survive, we need what we call a sweet spot of environmental conditions. We need a certain temperature, we need a certain rhythm of hydrology, et cetera, et cetera. But if we go out and think about the system much larger than just our little species, the fact is that this planet has been evolving for 4.5 billion years, and she will continue to evolve even without us, should we be so short-sighted to create conditions that don't allow for us to continue in X number of years. So the news of new species actually evolving, new species. Yes, we are killing many species, but Mother Nature is also evolving new species that will be here, perhaps even beyond our presence on this planet. And that gives me a certain sense of humility to understand that we're here, and we have literally, this one little species that we have created very, very difficult conditions for ourselves. We have acted out of a sense of supremacy, out of a belief of superiority over the rest of the web of life. We have acted out of thinking that we can that everything belongs to us, that we're separate from, that we can extract with no limits. All of this thinking and acting has led to the situation that we're in now. And yet, even despite all that, we see that nature continues to produce life because life wants to produce life, despite our craziness, despite our ultimate act of arrogance, which is to name the current geological era that we're living in our honor. If that is not the ultimate arrogance and sense of superiority of humans, every other geological era has a name that we have given it for some reality that that geological era had. And the geological era that started in the 1950s, we have named the Anthropocene for ourselves. Yes, because we are the most active, let's say, agents of change. Yes, that is also true. But I've lately come to see, isn't it also very arrogant to name an entire geological era after our own species when we know that there are 8 million species here that we are in constant interbeing with, and yet we choose ourselves. So for me, my relationship with nature is both one of deep humility and reverence for nature, but also gratitude. So I have pain, but also I have a lot of joy. My experience and the way that I interact with nature here right in front of me is one of deep gratitude for what she continues to do, and also pain for what we are doing, but understanding that she is teaching us resilience. If there is one huge lesson that she's giving us right now, it is the lesson of resilience. And how do we then take that lesson and act with that resilience, with the responsibility to help life create life and not the other way around? To understand that the grief and the pain that we see, we can't turn away from it because it is very much a part of our experience right now, but to not let it squash us down, paralyze us, but rather allow it to break us open, to break our hearts open, not to break us down, but to break us open. And to break us open so that we're much more aware of the fact that we inter-are with everything, with the entire web of life. And that because that is so, we have a huge responsibility to act much more in consonance with what nature wants. Nature wants more life. Nature wants to thrive. Nature wants to support the interactions among all of its different pieces. So how do we both open ourselves up to the feelings of pain and maybe even remorse that we have about what we have done? How do we open ourselves to that, but not become enslaved or enclosed by it, but rather transform it, alchemize it into understanding that precisely because of that, and because of what Mother Nature is actually showing us, that we can be much more responsible agents, and that our activism, if you will, i.e. how we engage with the world, because I think the word activism has somehow been reduced to those people who are out in the streets, being activists. I think that we're all activists. We all choose how we engage with the world. And so if we choose an activism that is grounded in mindfulness, then we can be both fierce and in pain and be compassionate at the same time. We can recognize the urgency of what needs to be done and be wise about what we do, both at the same time, so that we can, yes, be responsibly activists, but on the basis of transformation, not on the basis of just taking what is out there and making more of a reality out of it. How do we transform that reality? First, how do we transform it in ourselves? And then how do we use our engagement, our activism, to transform that reality and nudge it, if you will, in the direction that we would like to nudge it?